Hello everyone, this is Snow here. I'm gonna take you through a quick look through the SimplePlanes 1.10 beta. Okay, so there's quite a bit of stuff added despite saying that it was supposed to be a small update, and well, we're in for a treat. Okay, so let's get a quick look through the changelog. So the first thing we have is glass fuselage. So this has been requested for such a long time. It's been around. It's been just requested for ages and ages, and finally we do have actual glass. And look at that detail. Yeah, I feel like feels like they even added the reflections and curvatures to it. That looks awesome. Um, yeah, and okay, this is fantastic. So, and it hides its front and back faces, so it looks like a actual glass covering instead of like a connected pieces of glass. We also have the shattering feature, which is absolutely fantastic. It'll give his glass a completely different look from normal other parts. Alright, that already looks fantastic. And one big change that came into how you build is the smooth front and back options. So previously, if you wanted to make a smooth shape in SimplePlanes, you had to either sacrifice a bunch of parts to make it really nice, or you had to either try to use some other gimmicks with the smooth curves, but no longer do we need those techniques. So the game now automatically changes the surfaces to make consecutive fuselage pieces completely smooth, and you can see the difference right here. This is the side where we don't have the smoothing, so how we used to build, and now this is how the game automatically does it for you when you use the smoothing options. That just already looks so fantastic. Okay, and the next thing we're going to go through is the explosion scale XML attribute. So previously we only had explosion scale for the cannons added in 1.9. Now basically every single type of explosive weaponry in the game will get an explosion scale attribute. So it would mean that we finally get bombs and torpedoes, infernos, and missiles. Basically any sort of explosive weaponry now gets a scalable XML attribute. That means that we can make much more realistic bombs that don't instantly destroy everything in sight, or we can make actual nukes. That would be pretty fun. Previously we had to get around the nuke problem by using basically cannon shells with a very high scaled explosion scale attribute, but now we don't need to do that. We can actually use bombs, and well, that just makes it so much better because it's gonna look much better. It's gonna act much more realistic than what we had before. Previously, even if you change the scale of scale, so the actual size of the parts and the designer using XML, bombs would only show a bigger explosion, but the actual explosion effect would stay the same throughout, even if you change the actual size scale. But now we have the explosion scale XML attribute, which you should scale along with your part scale in order to have a more realistic and accurate bomb effect. Next thing is a quick addition to Funky Trees. It's a pretty small but actually very important addition to Funky Trees. So Funky Trees now gets these 4 variables, the first thing of which is target selected. Target selected just means if there is a target selected, so if you're selecting a target using your in-game radar. And we also have target heading, target elevation, and target distance. So what each of these are is target heading is simply the heading to the selected target in degrees. So that just means if you're I assume that just means the when you're looking at from a horizontal plane, that XY plane, the angle relative to your cockpit to the target you have selected. And target elevation, that just means the vertical angle to the target. So that just already gives us a line of sight angle to the target without us having to actually look at the target. And we also get target distance, so that just means the straight line linear distance to the target in meters. So these three primary attributes. The first one, the target selected attribute, target selected variable, is not as useful as I think these 3 are going to be, but TLDR, these three are going to enable us to make fire control systems, especially with the normal gun weaponries. It is significantly more difficult because it requires a lot of physics calculations to make a fire control system that works 100% using projectile weaponry such as cannons, because they have a parabolic trajectory. But it can make us have a much better fire control system, and we can now have basically aimbotting systems and turrets for if you use normal guns, which basically act as lasers with a safe velocity. So this would just allow us to make very, very accurate and powerful fire control systems, automatic turrets, and whatnot. Okay, so some tweaks. Upgrade to Unity, that's pretty standard every update. And this is actually fairly useful just because we get better FPS. Awesome. And finally, so this has been requested a billion times by mobile users. Now, blueprint images will be shown even when you're taking craft screenshots, so this just means custom screenshots for absolutely everybody. Fantastic. And, okay, so, yeah, so this is just... Okay, so this looks like a bug fix they did with previous versions of SimplePlanes, but now that they've added glass, this bug fix actually turned to be its own bug. So it appears that they have tried to fix everything, but we're trying to see if we have any issues with this problem. So if you do find bugs according to this, then please submit a bug report. And a couple bug fixes we can go over. Yep, yeah. So some people did report like having a problem with crafts that would not load. This is usually because of broken connections, and now the bug fix will fix those crafts and it will help you load them. And yeah, okay, yeah, there was a weird bug with using rate speed. So for example, the funky trees expression rate parentheses let's say IAS close parentheses would have issues when we're trying to evaluate it. I assume it was how the rate function in funky trees was structured that caused the problem, but that was around since 1.9.205, but it would have been fixed now in this update. Yes. Okay, so yeah, so we now have some more quality of life fixes. And one important thing, so previously in 1.9.205 I explained, I made a forum post about a bug with how mobile platforms were not parsing a string comparison. For example, particularly the only string variable actually available to us in funky trees is the selected weapon variable. So custom weapon bays using funky trees would not work on mobile, but now this issue has been fixed. This should probably work. Okay, yeah, so some extra issues with the camera settings, and yeah, this is another important one for funky trees. It just makes things a lot more consistent and predictable. It just means that previously we had something where a system where we could convert from booleans to numbers. So boolean to number conversion will be true would be +1, false would be -1, and you could technically do the opposite, where it was something like if the value equaled 0, then it would be false, and there's all sorts of weird things going on now. So now it has been fixed to become consistent. So that just means that whenever the x variable, so our variable n, let's say it is above 1, then it'll evaluate as true automatically instead of being some weird inconsistent value. And this is some more quality and life improvements. I think this is just to do with the funky trees value of scale cockpits. So it would mean that like the game would think that your cockpit was maybe a different location than it actually was. So this would just be some systems with using cockpits reference as for funky tree values. You should go check this out, but yeah. And yeah, so this previously had some issues where if you use funky trees expressions on AI craft, they would, like, sometimes take the user speed, so your craft speed, as the funky trees value instead of the AI craft speed. So that probably has been fixed now, and we can have AI craft with actual working funky trees expressions on their own without having issues with how speed and things are evaluated. So we can probably create much more realistic and properly functioning automatic AI flight paths and so on, AI flight control systems, or even if you really wanted to, custom AI. Existing bugs. So this is just more things. Yeah. Okay, not much to go over here. And how to get beta. I guess they needed to put this here because everyone asks anyway. Every time we have a beta, everyone asks. So for Steam versions, just go to the Steam client, go to your library, click right click on SimplePlanes, select properties, go to the beta tab, and click public test from the beta dropdown. Click close it, and it'll automatically start downloading, and you can start testing out the beta. This is just a quick changelog review, so I'll do a quick gameplay and actual testing review later on. But for now, that's about it for the 1.10 beta. It's a small but actually just groundbreaking beta. Jundru just absolutely outdoes us every time when they put out a new update. These are just so much. I just really can't describe how good I'm feeling right now. Glass, it's been asked for ages. Smoothing has been an issue for ages. Explosion scales, and finally we get actual targeting systems. And of course, the many bugs we had before have been fixed. And of course, I think this will just be such a quality of life update for a lot of mobile users. We finally get custom screenshots for everybody, so no one has to complain anymore. Well, that's just about it for today. I hope you enjoy the 1.10 beta. Go download it right now, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll go over the gameplay updates. Well, see ya.